Welcome to our channel. Today, we will dive into a dramatic and intense story about a figure who is being talked about more than ever in the Catholic Church, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, also known as the Pope Francis of Asia. On May 7, 2025, when the Cardinals of the Vatican gather behind closed doors to discuss the future of the Church, the name Luis Tagle will not only be mentioned, but will become the focal point of all the important discussions. In this time of turbulent and ideologically charged transition, Tagle's presence is not just that of a mere attendee. He is a leader, a voice of significant influence within these councils. Let's delve into the journey of one of the most powerful figures in the Church and what lies ahead for him in the upcoming conclave. Don't forget to leave a comment with 1 if you empathize with Cardinal Luis Tagle, or 0 if you have a different opinion. Share your thoughts with us. Like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss what's coming next, where we will reveal all the secrets in this unfolding story. Cardinal Luis Tagle from the Philippines is often called the Pope Francis of Asia. The cardinals met in secrecy to discuss the future of Luis Tagle. As the cardinals gathered behind closed doors at the Vatican ahead of the conclave on May 7, 2025, one name resounded like incense above all others: Luis Antonio Tagle. In the most ideologically tense transitional period in decades, Tagle's presence was far from silent. He didn't just attend the closed-door councils, he played a leadership role in these councils. Cardinal Tagle was officially appointed to assist Camillino, the Vatican official overseeing the Church's management during the interim period. This gave Tagle an unprecedented closeness to the decision-making center during this critical time. It also sent a message. He wasn't just a candidate, he was already the foundation of the future. The general councils, the official meetings of the cardinals before entering the conclave were kept under strict secrecy. But leaks and whispers tell us much. According to several Vatican insiders, the cardinals are discussing the next direction for the Church, not just in terms of doctrine but also on a global scale. They are grappling with scandals, institutional disunity, and a desire for spiritual renewal. And in this context, Luis Tagle is consistently mentioned as a candidate, not only because of his theology, but also because of his ability to symbolize a new Catholic world. An insider from the Vatican has spoken bluntly. If the Church wants to truly demonstrate its global nature, Tagle is the clearest answer. Tagle's strengths, the reason why he is gaining momentum, is that he is loved far beyond Asia. Fluent in English, Italian, and Tagalog, he connects with clergy and laity across various cultures. As a former president of Caritas Internationalis, he has defended the poor, migrants, and disaster victims, earning him deep moral credibility. His speeches at synods are often described as moments of grace. He doesn't just speak, he listens and then elevates, said a Filipino cardinal. He has long been seen as the intellectual and pastoral successor to Pope Francis, emphasizing integrity and mercy, deeply concerned with the periphery and people more than doctrine, with an aversion to clericalism and rigidity. Tagle doesn't just agree with Francis. He is the embodiment of Francis. Before we dive deeper into this, I need your help. I'm trying to reach 30,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me. For a church that is thriving in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, electing Tagle would send a powerful message. This is also your church, no longer the exclusive domain of Europe, no more subtle colonialism. Tagle would be the Pope of the future, not of the past. But not everyone is convinced. Concerns in the room. Not all the voices in red hats are praising Tagle. Doubts about governance. Some cardinals point out that his term at Caritas ended with a Vatican restructuring after management issues and internal conflicts. They are concerned he is too gentle to curb corruption, impose discipline, or manage the bureaucratic machinery of the Vatican. He is a pastor, but can he govern? Too closely tied to Pope Francis. For conservatives, Tagle seems like the ideological continuation of a pope they view as too political and doctrinally ambiguous. His support for more compassionate pastoral approaches toward divorced couples, LGBTQ individuals, and interfaith dialogue has raised flags for some who desire a pope to reset, not continue. The statistical game where Tagle stands. Despite concerns, he remains a favorite statistically in both the betting markets and informal cardinal chatter. The odds have recently fluctuated around 3-1, second only to Italian Cardinal Proin. At least 3 Philippine cardinals are expected to vote. This is the largest Filipino bloc ever. Many Latin American and African cardinals are said to see Tagle as one of us. More importantly, he is viewed as a compromise candidate, accepted by liberals, respected by moderates, and not clearly threatening to conservatives. The larger picture, what this election represents. This conclave is not just about Luis Tagle or even who will become pope. It is about which church emerges from the shadow of Pope Francis. If elected, it would affirm a global church rooted in inclusion, mercy, and accessibility. Pope Francis's legacy is not just a moment, but a movement, a new papal style, one that is not imperial but pastoral, not European but truly universal. If Tagle falls short and a more doctrinal candidate like Erdo or Serra rises to power, the message will be sufficiently ambiguous. It's time to clarify. Tradition is more important than trends. In that scenario, Tagle's failure would symbolize not a rejection of him, but a rejection of Pope Francis. Catholics around the world are holding their breath, especially in the Southern Hemisphere. In Manila, vigils have been held for Tagle. In Nairobi, Catholic radio stations are monitoring every update on the conclave. On social media, our Pope Tagle is trending in multiple languages. Why? Because Tagle represents hope, not just for reform, but for representation, for recognition, for a church that finally looks like its people. This is Tagle's moment, but also his one chance. At 67, he is young enough to lead the church for a decade or more, but old enough that waiting for another conclave would be risky. He stands at the crossroads of time, theology, and geography. If the cardinals want a new era, his election will signal that. But if not, Tagle might quietly return to his diocese. His moment will have passed. The Vatican revelation, the letter that stunned Luis Tagle. Before there were messages, tweets, and press releases, there was a letter. Ink on paper, hand to hand, soul to soul. The kind of letter you don't just read but feel. Today, the Vatican released such a letter that stunned even the calmest figures in the Catholic Church. It was not policy, it was not prophecy. It was personal. a handwritten letter from the late Pope Francis to Cardinal Luis Tagle. Its revelation shocked, unsettled, and divided the Church at one of the most crucial moments in modern Catholic history. In a place where so much is wrapped in ritual and bureaucracy, the raw humanity of this moment exploded like a lightning strike. Cardinal Tagle, who has long been regarded as calm, thoughtful, and almost ascetic, is said to have been stunned when the letter came to light. Not because it gave him power. It was not because it gave him a title, but because it did the opposite. It stripped away the position down to its essence: humility, service, and love. Written in the Pope's own handwriting and meant only for Tagle's eyes, the letter described a church not made of marble and tradition, but of humanity, tears, struggle, and grace. This is not just a letter, but a powerful challenge from Pope Francis to Cardinal Luis Tagle, stripping away power and titles to return to the true essence of humility, service, and love. A profound message, not carved in marble, but from the heart of humanity, full of tears, struggle, and grace. Like and subscribe to the channel now to not miss the deep secrets behind this story, and join us in exploring the power of service and sacrifice within the Church. Never lose the ability to understand the hearts of people. Francis wrote, "The Church does not belong to those who seek power. It belongs to those who seek to serve." Those words, once private, are now public scripture for a global church searching for its next voice. The letter did not name the successor. It did not allude to politics. Instead, it focused on what truly matters: listening to the wounded, loving the forgotten, resisting the allure of control, and choosing service over self. It was both a farewell and a challenge. Francis spoke of poverty, polarization, and the sickness of clerical ambition. He urged Tagle to be close to the poor, to the peripheries, to the places where God still weeps. And in doing so, he reminded the Church of one essential thing: leadership starts from the feet, not the throne. A close confidant of Pope Francis speaks out. A public intervention by Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, one of the most trusted figures in Pope Francis's inner circle. He is not just offering spiritual guidance. He is drawing battle lines, and his words could shift the odds in the next papal election. Who is Cardinal Fernandez? Why are his words important? Cardinal Fernandez is not an ordinary Vatican official. He is the head of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, the Church's chief defender of theology and orthodoxy. But more than that, he is considered the close confidant, the anonymous writer, and the intellectual twin of Pope Francis. For many years, he was Francis's silent partner in shaping the Church's pastoral reforms. Now, he is no longer silent. In interviews after Pope Francis's death, Fernandez became outspoken, even combative, when talking about opposition in the Church. He defended Francis's controversial reforms with an almost combative clarity, and went so far as to mock and attack senior cardinals who disagreed, particularly regarding the controversial document on the Ducia requests, allowing non-sacramental blessings for same-sex couples. Fernandez is said to have remarked that there are cardinals who should know better, those who are more concerned with fear than faith. That comment did not go unnoticed, and it was far from ambiguous. What exactly did Fernandez say? In a series of interviews and public interventions, Fernandez defended Pope Francis's reforms unapologetically, especially on issues of mercy, synodality, and outreach to minority groups. He criticized the conservative resistance in the church, arguing that some high-ranking critics should be removed from positions of influence. He labeled those critics as obstacles, implying that their resistance was more about nostalgia and pride than loyalty to the truth. Although he did not directly name each cardinal, the implication was clear. Fernandez is drawing a line and challenging anyone who crosses it. Who is in the crosshairs? The traditionalist faction is affected. Cardinals who are seen as opposing Francis's reforms are now in a more difficult position than ever. Among them is Cardinal Robert Sarah, who has publicly criticized those seeking fiducia and has long been a spiritual leader for traditionalist Catholics. Cardinal Raymond Burke, another strong opponent of synodality and papal reforms, who has clashed with Francis and his allies for more than a decade. Other conservative figures, including cardinals from Eastern Europe and parts of Africa, who have historically opposed changes in pastoral approaches regarding sexuality, family, and church governance. These men are not minor players. Some were previously considered papabili, legitimate candidates for the papacy. But Fernandez's recent comments, coming from his strong theological position, may have pushed them out of the election circle. If you are a cardinal preparing to vote in the conclave, you have now been informed. Loyalty to Francis and his vision is not just admired, it could be mandatory. The tone that Fernandez has set has reshaped the atmosphere before the conclave. Polarization is increasing. The cardinals are now being categorized not only by geography or experience, but also by their position within the legacy of Francis. Many cardinals who were once on the sidelines are now making quieter moves, either aligning with reformers or maintaining a humble stance to avoid being labeled as dissenters. The pressure from Vatican media, behind-the-scenes messages, leaks, and press coverage are being carefully managed with clear signs of continuous support for certain candidates. As a result, there is a more defensive conclave, where publicly criticizing Francis or Fernandez could be a quick path to eliminating a papal candidate. What about Cardinal Tagle? Is he being helped or hindered? Cardinal Luis Tagle, long regarded as one of Francis's favorites and Francis of Asia, is at the center of this question. His profile closely aligns with Francis's reforms, including a compassionate approach, global representation, and synodal governance. But this is a shift. Tagle is not universally loved. Conservative cardinals view him as too lenient on doctrine. Some in the Vatican have criticized his management during his time leading Caritas Internationalis, and others believe he lacks the administrative strength to lead the Church through such a turbulent period. So, does Fernandez's intervention help him? Indirectly, yes. Tagle may not be the successor Fernandez would choose, but the atmosphere that Fernandez has created supports candidates like Tagle, pastoral, globally minded, and absolutely loyal to Francis's vision. In this polarized environment, Tagle seems safer than anyone tied to traditionalist criticisms. Just that alone was enough to push the undecided voters toward him. Tagle heard what he was not supposed to hear: the unspoken truth of the conclave. Exactly what did Tagle hear? The content was harsh, and it came in waves. First, he learned of the private doubts among the senior Cardinals. They admired his smile, his homilies, and his humility, but they questioned his firmness in management. They called him a pastor but politically weak, incapable of handling the complexities of the Vatican. Then came the accusations, the claims that during his time in Manila, abuse reports were mishandled. Rumors circulated that confidential discussions had been leaked to the media. There was even speculation that he was, albeit distantly, involved in questionable financial decisions. Cardinal Luis Tagle's response to the criticisms and accusations was remarkable. Unlike those who might react with anger or defend themselves, he chose a very different path, a path filled with humility and respect. He did not abandon his position, nor did he make public statements or rally his allies. Instead, he chose to retreat into silence, into prayer, as a way to cleanse his soul and reflect on the challenges he was facing. Despite the sorrow and the frustration that could have overwhelmed him, those close to him describe him with swollen eyes, a weak voice, but still maintaining an extraordinary calm. There was no resistance or anger from him. Instead, he addressed the Cardinals and the entire conclave, but not to defend himself. Rather, he spoke to reaffirm his commitment to the reforms that Pope Francis had implemented. He pledged that regardless of who would become the next pope, he would continue to serve the Church with absolute loyalty. This moment for many was one of the most papal moments of all. Tagle didn't need to wear a crown or wield power to prove his leadership. Instead, he demonstrated that true leadership comes from the ability to face loss and suffering without abandoning service and love. He demonstrated that the greatest leaders are sometimes not those who wear the crown, but those who are willing to be nailed to the cross and continue to bless, to serve with love and humility. This underscores a profound message about the value of humility and loyalty, a message that only truly great leaders can embody in moments of trial. So, what do you think about Cardinal Tagle's leadership style? Do you agree that great leaders don't need crowns, but rather sacrifice and service? Don't forget to leave a comment with number 1 if you feel connected to Cardinal Luis Tagle, or number 0 if you have a different opinion. Share your thoughts with us. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video appearing on your screen for more amazing content. See you in the next videos.